Sometimes, a work is significant not only because of its content, but also because of the story behind it. The Book of Disquiet by Fernando Pessoa is a unique example, where his life itself seems to be part of the book, a life of mystery, paradox, and isolation. Born in 1888 in Lisbon, Pessoa faced loss early when his father and younger brother passed away. His family moved to South Africa, where he became fluent in English and deeply immersed in Western literature. However, instead of building a career abroad, he returned to Lisbon at the age of 17 and lived a quiet life, dedicating himself to writing in obscurity, unnoticed by the world. When Pessoa died in 1935, he was almost unknown, yet he seemed to have foreseen that he would be recognized in the future. And it happened in the strangest way. After his death, tens of thousands of manuscript pages were left forgotten in a wooden trunk. Then in 1982, exactly 47 years after his passing, the same age he was when he died, the Book of Disquiet was discovered and published. Instantly, it became one of the most important literary works of the 20th century, a book unlike any other. The Book of Disquiet does not follow a conventional structure, but is a collection of fragmented reflections that can be read in any order. Blending elements of a diary and poetry, it explores themes such as the contrast between reality and dreams, the monotony of existence, the meaninglessness of action, and the paradoxes of life. It is not just a book, but a journey into the mind of a man constantly searching for meaning in the chaos of his own being. Fernando Pessoa was not just a writer, he was a world of multiple identities. He did not write the Book of Disquiet under his real name, but under the pseudonym Bernardo Soares, a fictional character he created. But Soares was not the only one. Another figure, Vicente Guedes, may have also written parts of the book. So who is the true author? Is it Pessoa or the characters he brought to life? Throughout his life, Pessoa used approximately 80 different pseudonyms, but they were not mere pen names. He called them heteronyms, fictional authors with distinct voices, philosophies, and biographies. Some were deeply philosophical, others poetic, romantic, or skeptical. Each of his works was not just a literary creation, but a dialogue between different versions of himself. With the Book of Disquiet, Pessoa continued his exploration of identity and selfhood. The book is neither a traditional novel nor a conventional autobiography. It exists between genres, ambiguous like its author. Pessoa described it as an autobiography without events, or the autobiography of someone who never existed. This makes it one of the most unusual literary works ever written. A story without a protagonist, without a clear plot, yet containing an immense inner world. By creating heteronyms, Pessoa was not just exploring his own psyche, he was breaking the boundaries between author and character, between reality and fiction. He did not write to express himself, but to challenge the very concept of identity. Do we truly have a singular self, or are we merely a collection of different personas? For Pessoa, perhaps there is no singular I, only overlapping masks, each revealing a fragment of the truth. Fernando Pessoa did not merely write about loneliness, he embodied it. Isolation was not just a state of being for him, but the very nature of existence as he deeply perceived it. In the Book of Disquiet, he did not simply describe the feeling of alienation. He turned it into a reality, a space where humans drift endlessly with no destination. He did not just observe the world from a distance. He made himself a character within his own work, a man who exists but does not truly live. Pessoa wrote about himself as if he were a ghost, a vague entity caught between reality and fiction. He described, "I am the center only because the geometry of the abyss demands it. I am the nothingness around which everything spins." This is not just an abstract thought, it is a self-awareness of being an undefined entity. In Pessoa's world, the self has no clear boundaries. It does not remain still, nor does it have a fixed form. Rather, it is like an artificial focal point within an endless vortex. The more one tries to grasp it, the more lost one becomes, as if free-falling into an abyss with no end. For Pessoa, understanding oneself is not about reaching an answer, but embarking on a never-ending journey, one in which every step forward only makes us realize how little we truly know about ourselves. This is the paradox of self-awareness. The harder we try to comprehend, the deeper we sink into uncertainty. It is like a dream where we believe we are touching the truth, only to wake up and watch it dissolve into nothingness. Thus, in the Book of Disquiet, Pessoa does not offer answers or seek clarity. He embraces the meaninglessness of self-discovery, allowing himself to drift through a world of contemplation, where the self is but an illusion, and isolation is the inevitable condition of existence. For Fernando Pessoa, life was not a meaningful journey or a sequence of significant events, but merely an extended dream, where every moment drifts aimlessly, destined to be forgotten when dawn breaks. He did not seek meaning in actions or achievements, because to him everything was an illusion, just like last night's dreams that fade and disappear by morning. Pessoa wrote, "I have never done anything but dream. This, and this alone, has been the sole meaning of my life." This statement is not just a simple declaration but a philosophy. He did not merely see life as a dream in a metaphorical sense. He truly believed that everything is ephemeral, that all human endeavors, emotions, and pursuits would ultimately dissolve like a fleeting vision. That is why, in the Book of Disquiet, he does not strive to find a grand purpose, but instead embraces the impermanence of all things. The meaninglessness of life in Pessoa's world is not a tragedy, but an undeniable reality. If everything is just a dream, then any attempt to cling to something permanent becomes futile. Existence has no solid foundation, no anchor, only the relentless flow of time, sweeping away all that we once thought was important. But if everything is an illusion, why should we concern ourselves with meaning at all? Pessoa did not write to provide answers, but to express the truth as he perceived it, that humans cannot escape the meaninglessness of existence, but they can learn to accept it. For him, life was not about chasing a purpose, but simply drifting within the current of dreams, until we, too, are forgotten. Fernando Pessoa spent his entire life writing, even though he believed that all actions were meaningless. This is the central paradox of the Book of Disquiet, a book about meaninglessness, created by a man who could not stop writing. If everything is destined to be forgotten, if life is nothing but a drifting dream, then why record it? But perhaps for Pessoa, writing was not about finding answers. Nor was it a rebellion against nothingness. It was simply a natural response to it. He saw writing as a form of self-medication, a remedy against the very affliction he so profoundly understood. Just as some vaccines contain the virus they protect against, Pessoa wrote about meaninglessness to confront it, to continue existing despite knowing that nothing has a purpose. Each sentence was not meant to construct a philosophical system, but to soothe his own unease, a way to release the endless stream of thoughts in his mind. Perhaps it was precisely his awareness of life's futility that made it impossible for him to stop writing. He did not write because he believed in the power of words, but because writing was the only way he could exist within the absurdity of the world. If life was a dream, then writing was his way of describing it, even as it slipped away, knowing it would all dissolve with the coming of dawn. But perhaps, in that very act, he found something to hold on to, not meaning, but a means of existing amid the vortex of nothingness. The Book of Disquiet was never finished, and perhaps it was never meant to be. Its incompleteness is not a flaw, but an essential part of its nature. It perfectly reflects Pessoa's philosophy of existence, an endless journey, a stream that never stops flowing, where everything remains in a state of ambiguity and uncertainty. Like Pessoa's own life, the book was forgotten in the shadows, only to be discovered after his death. As if only in absence can a person truly be understood. Strangely, the name Pessoa in Portuguese means person. Was it an accident, or was it intentional that he created a persona representing all of humanity, an individual without a fixed self, merely a collection of fragments and scattered thoughts? If his life was a mirror reflecting human existence, then the Book of Disquiet is the distorted image within that mirror. It is not a novel, not a memoir, but a void, a stream of consciousness, a dream that never fully awakens. Pessoa seemed to anticipate the fate of his book. In the Book of Disquiet, he wrote, "One day, the words I have written will be read and admired, but I will no longer be here." This was not just a passing thought, it was a prophecy, an eerily accurate prediction of how the world would remember him. He knew that in his lifetime he would remain unrecognized. But after his death, the pages he left behind would be discovered, praised as the masterpiece of a forgotten genius. And indeed, that is exactly what is happening now. But the Book of Disquiet is not just a book. It is a piece of art in itself. It has no plot, no real characters, no clear structure, just as the existence Pessoa describes, an endless sequence of thoughts floating in the void without a beginning or an end. There is something almost mystical in the way it exists, as if it were a Bible for atheists, a guidebook for nihilists. Reading it can be unsettling, even devastating, yet it can also bring comfort. It does not attempt to dispel human anxiety. Rather, it reminds us that awareness of our unease may be the only way to coexist with it. Fernando Pessoa left this world in obscurity, yet his words remain, echoing through time, leading us on a journey to explore existence, identity, and the paradoxes of life. The Book of Disquiet is not just a book, it is a mirror reflecting the deep unease within every human soul. A work without an ending, much like Pessoa's own life. If you found this video interesting, please like to support us, subscribe to the channel for more profound content, and don't forget to turn on the notification bell to continue exploring the great minds of history. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.